And Mr. Chairman, it's 9 o'clock and you have quorum. All members are present.
Thank you. Good morning. Before we call the meeting to order, I'd like Mark Cranenberg, our Director of Airports, to share some information with everybody, and then we'll open the meeting. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone, and appreciate everyone else joining us for this video conference meeting. I'm Mark Cranenberg, the Airports Director for the City of Oklahoma City, and as such, I also serve as General Manager for the Oklahoma City Airport Trust. We have just a few announcements this morning. If this video conference is disconnected at any time during the meeting, then the meeting will be stopped and we'll try to reconvene to get the connection restored. If the communications are not able to be restored within 30 minutes, then any remaining items for consideration will be continued until later today, May 28th at 3 p.m., again via video conference. I note that the agenda and the documents are located on okc.gov. Anyone wishing to speak about an agenda item, public hearing, or to speak under citizens to be heard, I ask that you please call 405-508-9278, or again, you can text that same number again, 405-508-9278. Please provide your name, phone number, the item number, and the reason you wish to comment. And if you call in after your item has been heard, you'll be allowed to speak. Under citizens to be heard, speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to comment. I'll ask that all participants except the airport trustees keep their phones on mute until they are recognized to speak. Of course, trustees can ask questions or comment anytime during the meeting. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you to start the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Let's call the meeting of May 28th, 2020 of the Oklahoma City Airport Trust to order. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the April 23rd meeting. What is the desire of the trustees?
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And there is a second. Any comments or questions from the trustees? Hearing none, please cast your votes.
Yeah, Mr. Humphreys, can you see the screen? The voting screen?
I do not see the voting screens.
Oh, okay. Press escape on your keyboard to
Okay.
split your screen. See if that fixed it.
Okay, just a minute. Got it.
Okay, thank you.
And the item has passed. Next on our agenda is to approve the Oklahoma City Airport Trust budget for fiscal year 2021. Mr. Director, would you please share the budget information with the trustees?
Be happy to, Mr. Chairman. I will ask for your approval this morning, but first I do have a short presentation and we'll be sharing the screen here momentarily. Okay, hopefully you all see that. This is our title page for the fiscal year budget for 2021. If you don't see it, you might say something, we'll try to help you. I want to take you back to last month when we introduced the budget. We stated there were going to be some significant adjustments to our FY21 budget due to COVID-19. And just to recap where we were last month when I introduced the budget, is we were anticipating a revenue reductions of over 25%, which is over $18 million. We were going to be reducing our expenses over 11%, which is over $5.7 million. And we were planning to reduce our capital expenditures over 32%, over $32 million. Thanks to the CARES Act and the funding that each of our 3 city airports will get, and we have an item for you to approve those this morning. They went to City Council on Tuesday. We've been able to adjust our numbers, and so the numbers that I give you going forward will factor in the CARES Act information. If you'll go to the next slide, we'll talk about the impacts of COVID-19, and I think that it's important to set the stage as to why our budget will be lower this year and some of the things that we're facing. If you can notice, our enplanements or boarding passengers were down significantly in April, over almost 94%. And the low point was probably on April the 8th, when we only had 239 passengers pass through our security checkpoint. If you look at the chart on the left, and don't be too concerned about all the dates, but the left side represents 2019, the right side represents 2020. So you can see corresponding date for date, year over year, you can see just how much we have reduced the throughput due to COVID-19. Typically, we'll get 5, sometimes almost 8,000 passengers coming through the checkpoint, and as you can see, those are way down. I will note that yesterday on May 27th, we had 1,223 go through the checkpoint. It's varying quite a bit, and so we are experiencing a little bit of a bump, but I will point out that in order for us to even get to 1 million annual enplanements, we would have to average 3,000 throughput a day. Our highest was actually May 25th with 1,503 going through the checkpoint. Continuing on impacts, the impact to the concession program at Will Rogers has been as equally decimated as the airline industry has been decimated. As you know, in the terminal building, we have food and beverage concessionaires, and we have retail concessionaires. And you can see the year-over-year loss in gross sales from April 2019 and what we experienced in April of 2020. And this is very important to us as a revenue source, because our agreements with these concessionaires state that they are to give us a percentage of the gross sales. So it does impact our revenues. Another area we're being impacted significantly is with transportation. And I think most notably, everyone knows that the rental car industry has also been severely impacted. When you look at the consolidated rental car facility and the 8 buses that we do a bump and run back and forth between the terminal building and the rental car center, you can see in April of 2019, we had over 84,000 riders in that month. Compare that to this past April, only 3,710. When you look at the transportation network companies, clearly it's not a one-to-one relationship with the customers like our throughput and maybe the rental car industry, but we can see with Uber and Lyft, we still have had a significant drop in activity. And then other impacts, clearly our public parking. If you've been to the airport, you've seen our garages nearly empty and our surface parking lots nearly empty. In fact, we have closed 2 of the parking lots down for now because of loss of activity. And again, you see a familiar number there, a 90% reduction. With regard to air service, I mentioned last month also that there were many markets that had been suspended by virtually every carrier operating out of Oklahoma City. Our May departures were down 44% from what they customarily were, as well as our available seats were down, obviously, because our flights had been reduced. And our markets were down 46%. Now, the airlines are beginning to schedule more flights, and they're starting to bring back over the next few months, even now scheduling out as far as the end of the year, that we will have some of these suspended destinations return. But it really will depend on the demand that we see going forward and making sure that COVID-19 does not relapse into the travel industry impacts like has been so dramatic these last 2 months. So now let's get into the 2021 budget. Each year I show you what the adopted budget is that we have for this year, which is $141,340,000, and I show you our proposed budget of $133,892,000. Now, I gave you very early some dramatic reductions in our budget revenues and capital expenditures and also our revenues. But just to show you and remind you that we have factored in the CARES Act revenue in this budget going forward. And so now with the CARES Act funding instituted, we are looking at about a $7.4 million reduction in our budget from last year, or a change of about 5.3%. In looking at the sources of revenues, we're anticipating our total revenues to be $83,869,000. And I will point out, I'm not going to read each one of these, but the categories where we are seeing the impacts in our revenues are the landing fees, again, public parking fees, our concessions, which again is food and beverage, retail, and the rental car industry's concession fees that they pay to the trust. Our fuel sales are down. The passenger facility charge revenues are going to be decreased somewhat. And that's very important to us because that supports our capital program, particularly projects such as the terminal expansion project that we're underway with now. The one gain on this line is the federal and state participation with regard to grants. So you see $29,813,000, and again, largely because of the CARES Act. And we do have a significant FAA AIP project scheduled for FY21. If you look at the carryover, this is our project fund that we use also for our capital program, $28,730,000. And then we project revenue bond proceeds, which are intended to be used on construction, of $21,293,000. So again, the total budget, $133,892,000. When you look at the uses of funds, our operating expenses are estimated to be $46,194,000. The other services and fees, this is where we customarily pay our janitorial, firefighting, parking management, and security contractors out of this line. Commodities represents just other services and supplies, and debt requirements for next year is anticipated to be over $13 million. And I will tell you that 3/4 of the CARES Act that we will be receiving, we will be using towards the payment of our debt service for FY 2021. The transfer to the cash fund, this is the Department of Airports operating account. We're anticipating $33,087,000 to be funds estimated in reserves that we will receive in 2021, and these will be used on future capital. And again, we've reduced our capital outlay significantly. We're only showing $54,611,000. Compare that to last year's $86.9 million, and so we balanced the budget. Just a couple of completed projects I want to make note of. The Terminal Drive roadway project, there's 3 phases. We're about 98% complete with this, so I'm going to call it complete. We have a little bit of irrigation work that we need to do. The OG&E contractor has to do some work with light poles, and we have some signage that needs to be done. But the roadway has been open for several weeks. It's absolutely beautiful. It's outstanding, and it's basically been rehabilitated or resurfaced from Southwest 54th Street all the way south inbound on Terminal Drive to the terminal complex. And then the cell phone lot is very nearly complete. Just to remind you, the cell phone lot is going to be just to the right of the Terminal Drive inbound lane. We've relocated it, much more intuitive. I mentioned before, it kind of reminds me of a rest stop where you're coming to the airport and you're going to pick somebody up and you just pull off like you would on a highway at the rest stop. This lot is larger than the makeshift lot we have been using. It actually has 195 spaces which will be available, and it's a beautiful facility, and I can't wait till we get both of these open and get some traffic back so people can use it. Just a few other completed projects. Mike Monroney Aeronautical Center, huge line of business for us. We have about 30 buildings over there that the Airport Trust owns and maintains, structure, exterior, roofs, and pavement work. We also do maintenance on many of the buildings over there, and these are just a couple of the projects that we completed there. And on this next slide, we have some other projects that we've completed. Noteworthy, I think, the top left, the garage wayfinding and signage replacement project. We completed that. That's very important for the signage and getting people in and out of our garages so that they can find where they are and where they need to go. And then a few months ago, we completed the refurbishment of Lot 1. Now, this is the surface lot off of Amelia Earhart. It's what I would call our economy lot. It's our lowest price surface lot, and it's very, very popular. But this is one of the lots that we have closed right now due to no activity. And looking at the ongoing and new projects, just a couple I want to mention. The terminal expansion we're moving forward with, and that project is going very well. You see what we're anticipated to spend in FY21 and what the total costs are. Just to remind you, this is the beginnings of an east concourse to construct 4 gates, 3 which will be leased by the airlines. We'll have a brand new large lobby, 8-lane security checkpoint, column-free. That will open everyone up into a huge double volume town square area. We will be changing our existing checkpoints into very large meter and greeter lobbies, and I will tell you I took a tour of that area now that we're 50% complete with the construction, and it looks absolutely huge, those greeter lobbies. We'll be increasing the public circulation, which was a major goal of this project, and at some point we'll have a couple of new concessions in the new space. The project is probably going to be complete about August of 2021. However, we're hoping in May of 2021 that we'll be open up with the majority of the new space, the new public space with the checkpoint and the gates. But we will still need to do some work in the old checkpoints, and a few other things will be remaining. The Station 2 upgrade, I've mentioned this project a couple of years that it was coming up. You see again what we're projecting. Majority of this cost will be spent next year. This is the first station or the first bank of elevators that you come to when you exit the terminal building in the pedestrian tunnel. This is where we are taking out the narrow escalator. We're renovating the 2 elevators which are there today, and we'll be adding 2 brand new elevators. And we're also doing a major refurbishment to the building portion of Station 2, which is on the top story of the 2-story parking deck, which is where hourly parking is. And looking at the summary of our projects for the capital program, you see what we have broken out by airport and also by Mike Monroney, because it is, again, a significant line of business for us. And the table below just shows the sources of funds for our capital program, what we're anticipating from the federal grants, our passenger facility charges, which will support the terminal expansion project, the tenant maintenance funds. These are components in leases where funds are contributed so we can meet our lessor responsibilities under the leases. And then just revenues from trust operations for FY21, you see almost $16 million will be contributing to our total capital of $54,611,000. Again, going back to the department operating account, you can see we have this broken out by line of business. This is mainly salaries and benefits for the people that are with the department. And last, I have a increase in insurance benefits and salaries, $264,525, and we have a very slight increase in city provided services. With that, Mr. Chairman, I believe that this budget will meet the needs of the trust in a very challenging and financial situation going forward. And I think staff has done a great job in trying to anticipate the revenues and the expenses in the capital program going forward. But we're always ready to make adjustments. And in fact, in this fiscal year, we cut capital weeks ago, even in this budget, and we started cutting our expenses significantly a few weeks ago as soon as COVID-19 came about the middle of March. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that the board approve the FY21 budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Desire of the trustees.
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Yes, Craig Freeman seconded the motion.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions before we call it to vote? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And the item has passed. Thank you. Director's report. Any comments, Mr. Director?
No, sir, not this morning. Thank you.
All right. How about Will Rogers World Airport?
Yes, sir. Several items under Will Rogers is to, under item A, is to accept the completed project for the South Maintenance Facility Roof Replacement Project with Alva Roofing Company. Item B is to approve amendment number 2 to the construction contract with ATEC Paving for the cell phone waiting lot project. It's a decrease of $29,391.20. We also ask for approval of change order number 4, increase of $5,570 in 14 days. Item C is approve amendment number 5 to our contract with Crossland Heavy Contractors for the terminal roadway project, decreasing the amendment by $188,699.62. Change order number 5 asking approval for an increase of $43,781.33 and adding 59 days to the project. Item D is approved change order 1 to the contract with Alva Roofing Company that is for the Hangar 9 West Side Roof Repairs Project. We're just adding 14 days. Item E is change order number 14 to the contract with Timberlake Construction for the terminal expansion project. Increase of $192,366.58 and adding 6 days. Item F is approve and ratify the director's actions authorizing roof inspection services for the Hangar 9 West Side Roof Repairs Project at Mike Monroney, and this is with Frankfurt Short Bruza Associates. It's in an estimated amount of $17,189. G is to approve a pricing agreement with Casco Industries as they provide self-contained breathing apparatus equipment and services for our firefighters. Estimated amount of $107,490. And last, item H is ratify the director's action in the approval of addendum number 1. This is for the request for bids for the contract for inspection, maintenance, and repair services for our passenger boarding bridges, awarding that contract to Ameribridge LLC. It's an estimated amount of $95,625, and it'll be effective November 1, 2020. Those are all the items under Will Rogers' request approval.
You've heard the items under Will Rogers. What's the desire of the trustees?
Move the item.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, there's a motion and a second.
Any comments or questions from the trustees? Hearing none, please cast your votes. And the item has passed. Wiley Post Airport, Mr. Director.
Just one item, Mr. Chair. Item A is to authorize the resolution for the director to purchase environmental services from Intercon Services. This is for fiscal year 2021. It's utilizing their city contract, and this is for the former Gulfstream Aerospace Technology Facility at Wiley Post. Request approval.
You've heard the one item under Wiley Post. What's the desire of the trustees?
Mr. Chair, we have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, please cast your votes. And the item has passed. Items under general.
Item A is to receive the delinquent accounts receivable report, construction project status report, and the budget to actual report as of April 30th. Item B is approve the grant agreements with the Federal Aviation Administration for the Will Rogers, Wiley Post, and Clarence E. Page Airport CARES Act grants, which is the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act grant funds. Item C is to adopt the resolution authorizing the purchase of radio equipment. This is utilized in the city contract with L3 Harris Technologies. It's an estimated amount of $128,362.58. And D is approve agreement with professional consulting services for public art projects with the City of Oklahoma City. This is through the Planning Department's Office, Arts and Cultural Affairs. This will become effective July 1. Request your approval for these items under general.
Thank you, sir. You've heard the items under general. What's the desire of the trustees?
We have a motion and second.
A motion is second. Please cast your votes. And the item has passed. Next on our agenda, lease and other agreements.
Under leases and other agreements, item A is to accept the abrogation and hazard easement for a location at 11401 Meridian LLC. This is for a tract that is south of Southwest 112th Street between Meridian and MacArthur Boulevard. It's containing about 26.66 acres at Will Rogers World Airport. Excuse me. Item B is approve the easement with Oklahoma Natural Gas Company. This is replacing a previous easement, allowing natural gas infrastructure on the west side of 54th Street and Meridian Avenue at Will Rogers. Item C is approve supplement number 1 to the management services agreement with ABM Aviation beginning July 1. Item D is ratify the director's action and approve the airport use agreement with SkyWest Airlines Incorporated at Will Rogers. Item E is approve the annual budget for the management services agreement with Protect Fire Services for the period commencing July 1 through June 30, 2021. Item F is approve the supplement to the lease agreement with Aero Oklahoma LLC. This is retroactive to May 1. Item G is approve the assignment and assumption sublease ground lease agreement and the bill of sale for the conveyance of an aircraft hangar known as Hangar 18. This is on the Atlantic Aviation's leasehold premises at Wiley Post Airport, and it will be transferred to Cooper Family Management Company, LLC. Item H is approve the annual financial work plan with the United States Department of Agriculture. This is their Wildlife Services Division. They provide the funds for 2 of our wildlife biologists for the manage our integrated wildlife management damage management program. Excuse me. And then items I, J, K, L, and M, all of these are assignment and assumption and use agreements at PWA Incorporated. These are individuals who are transferring certain T hangars to another party. Item N is to approve the lease agreement with between the Trust and Stephen Barnes. This is for an individual aircraft hangar site for the storage of a privately owned aircraft at Clarence E. Page Airport. Item O is to approve the air cargo use and operations agreement with United Parcel Service. Item P is approve the supplement to the hangar and office lease agreement that has various lessees on it, and this is effective May 28th, and we're revising Exhibit C, which is the authorized aircraft for self-fueling under that agreement. With that, Mr. Chair, request approval for leases and other agreements.
Thank you, Mark. You've heard the items under leases and other agreements. What's the desire of the trustees?
We have a motion and second.
Having a motion and a second, any comments or questions? Hearing none, please cast your votes. And the item has passed. Next up, paragraph 9, Mr. Mark.
Request approval for our requisitions, Mr. Chair.
We have a request for requisitions.
We have a motion and second.
Motion is second. Please cast your votes. And it is so approved. Next on our agenda, comments from trustees. Any trustee wishing to have a comment?
Yeah, I think I would just like to say, Mark, thank you to you and your staff for working on that budget. In these difficult times, I know how challenging that can be, so just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from trustees? Hearing none, comments from staff. Again, hearing none. Are any citizens signed up to speak, Francis?
No one has signed up, but if anyone wants to speak, they need to press *6.
Press *6 and you will have an opportunity to speak. Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you for
Thank
your
you all.
participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, stop recording.